Hey, welcome to the Really Charlie podcast. And I am here with a dear friend, and this is the second time she's on. And I am so glad that she's here because guess what? She is an author, she's a creator, she's the type of people I like being around. I like to give them their flowers while they're standing. And it's real important that you kind of show people that are creating and making books and especially when it comes to your heritage, your people and where you come from. It's real important to give them their flowers, and actually tell people like Doreen that they're doing a great job, a fabulous job, and you're doing something that's for the goodness of Cabo Verde, right? Or the world period, because not only does Cape Verdeans want to know about Cabo Verde, other people in the world want to know about it. So it's very important that we stay creative and keep on doing the things that we do. So Doreen, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I appreciate your
Yeah,
phone and what you're doing as well.
I try to do what I can, and sometimes we get overwhelmed sometimes, but we got to keep on doing what we're doing because there's not a lot of people that are doing it or staying committed to creating and doing the things that you and I are both doing. And I'm glad you're committed. You're very blessed with what you're doing, and I hope that you understand the blessings that you have, and to keep on living and building your legacy as you as a person and as your family. You got to keep that legacy going. It's very important.
Yes, it is.
So, man, you're getting. I'm talking about you being creative, and you created an app, and
I did, and it was a lot of work, and it really was, it hit that saying, you can't, you're never too old to learn. Because,
mm-hmm,
I've been in technology and I've been fighting with the youngins, but um, the app was a whole different dinosaur. And I'm retired now, so my focus is wearing down. But when you have a passion for something, it helps me to focus. So,
mm-hmm,
and I love learning things.
yeah. So, what's the name of your app?
My app is called Conversational Kriolu.
Nice, and it you have to kind of keep up with things, right? And you kind of you're fitting right in with society, with technology, and everything by creating this app because everyone has a phone in their hand, whether at home or work or on pleasure. But it's the source of communication. It's the source of reliability. It's the source of where you find things. And you know what? I'm glad that you created this app, and it's also something that's going to come on my phone, so I can actually have it on my app, my phone, and get to learn a lot of Creole. I did some basic Creole classes with Jaffa Tavaz and great teacher, amazing teacher, and she's just I like what she did. I have your book, so it's great that you're doing that, especially for people that are my age or even beyond or even younger that they're wondering where can I learn Creole.
Right. And it's really convenient when, like, the book has an audio to it and you have to download the audio files. And if you're old school like me and you like to write notes and stuff, the book is good, but they work together because there's 14 stories that were in the book. And they're basic things because when I went to Cape Verde for the first time, it was right after my mother passed, and for some reason, something in me wanted to go to Cape Verde always, but it
Hmm.
was real strong. And I went by myself, and thank God, a friend of mine, Mark Gomes, who was the neighborhood kid, he was there at the same time. He's a pastor, so he was sponsored by a church, and the pastor said, "She can't come by herself." And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm going. I got to find some kind of connection to the island. And initially, I wanted to see if I wanted to visit Brava. I still have not. I've been there twice, and there was volcanic activity or whatever. Like, and I'm like, okay, that's the Lord saying I have to go back one more time, and
Mhm.
I will know a little bit more Cape Verdean Kriolu, so it's going to be more exciting. So I think I can get around now because I know how to ask, "Where's the bus? Where can
Mhm.
my visa? Where's the munchuk?" That's all I need is food and a towel, and I'll be cool.
Awesome. It Yeah, I always wanted to go to Fogo so I can take some of the sand and have, you know, a piece of the island always with me here in New Bedford, and be able to say that, that's where my great grandfather came from. And it's real important. Things are getting easier now. Now all I have to do is go up to Providence, Rhode Island, or Boston, but I prefer going to Providence and flying out of there. But now we're going to be able to fly out of
Yeah.
Providence to go to Cabo Verde.
Jofa has an experience coming up where they're going to have the classes and the flight to Cape Verde for a whole and stay for a week, which is amazing because I think that when you're immersed in the culture, you pick up so much more in the context of everyday living. So that's
Exactly.
not, I'd like to do that.
Yeah, it's uh one of my cousins is going in June.
Oh, nice.
And but I like when he comes back and tells his little stories, and it's good, but he wants me there, and I said, well, like if I go to Cape Verde, I definitely got to bring my wife with me. You can't do something like that. You can't, especially where it's been something that we all been yearning to go back and see.
Yeah. And
So
it's nice to go alone, but if you go in a group, like I went to the beach one day and I was alone. Like the second time I went, I was working at a school, and the guy that ran the school was teaching English. He was white, and he had gone over there during the time when Cape Verde was a third world country. So the Peace Corps was there, and they taught him Creole, and he spoke fluently. And every day he would tell me, "Okay, go down the street and order some coffee." And I was so scared because
hmm
it was cumpleaños en Fastan. But the feeling like when you get off the plane and you see your people, it's like that's why like a lot of things had happened to make me really who am I? Like my identity, because you don't speak the language. A lot of people like when I finished teaching, the receptionist was a young Creole girl, and she said, My mother wants you to come over for dinner." And I went over. Nobody spoke English, but she did because she was coming to the States for school. And we talked and laughed, and a lot of the stuff, the food, the flowers, even, and the family gatherings are so familiar.
hmm
Grew up like when I grew up in New Bedford, I stayed in that community. That's all I knew. I
yeah.
didn't know anything but I'm a Cape Verdean. So when I went there, and the aunt came at night, like around dessert, and and the girl introduced me to her aunt, and that's when like everything started in my mind. Like, you need to learn this language, because she said a word, like she started talking to me in Creole, and
hmm
oh, I don't speak Creole. And she said, Mustrasa. I don't even remember the word, but I knew
Yeah.
it wasn't nice. And the young girl's face just dropped. I'm like, what does that mean? And she didn't want to tell me. I said, I've heard it before. And she said, that's what they call Cape Verdean Americans who didn't learn their language. And I smiled, but I was so hurt, you know,
Yeah.
and then on the plane, the stewardess was talking, and she said, are you Cape Verdean? And I'm like, yes. She started talking to me in Creole, and I'm like, I don't speak Creole. And she said, why not? And she sat down and brought the pilot. They're sitting on both sides of me. I'm thinking, like, where's the pilot? Who's flying the plane? They couldn't understand. Like, you're Cape Verdean, you don't know your language. And she told me, stay here until you learn your language.
hmm
I'm like, I wish I could,
Yeah.
I was there for like a month and I picked up. I mean, the first thing I learned was like, every morning, like when I was out on the porch drinking coffee, people would come with their weeds on their head and they were so friendly. They're like, bon dia. And I'm like, bon dia. I was so happy to say, bon dia. I went every
Mhm.
morning, every afternoon just to say bon dia, but tarde, but no, you know.
Mhm.
And I mean, just going in the airport, seeing all Cape Verdeans running everything, it's such a different culture, you
Yeah.
know. And there's like a I'm trying to make a bridge, a little bridge.
Mhm.
I can't do it all, but um, because I want to give that lady and people who think like her the understanding that when our grandparents came in the 1800s to this country that is racist, and shuns anybody speaking another language, they have to fit in. I can't even imagine, you
True.
know, being in a new world and not knowing how to speak the language. That must have been crazy.
And
But
it's so common, just what you're saying. It's so common of families back then to do that,
mhm,
especially where you're coming to try to make a new life, and so they want you to absorb the American culture and do it the American way, so
mhm,
things get easier for the family in general, especially when it came to work and education and just fitting in. So, but I want to say hello to Paulo Paris, and Michael Sameo. Thank you for commenting. I truly appreciate it. Everyone out there, through Facebook or LinkedIn, you can please share this podcast, and let's broaden the horizon, broaden the audience. Um, and you can always catch the podcast on Really Charlie Podcast on YouTube, um, if you don't have social media. But YouTube is a great resource, and the podcasts are on every Tuesday, at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Um, so, um, Doreen, the one thing that I found that is that we all, especially American born Cape Verdeans, it's in our DNA. And I try to tell everybody, look, I'm Cape Verdean just like you are. You may be born in the islands, but let me tell you something. The majority of your families, you know, are here in America for what reason? To make life better. So, I don't want anybody to shun on other people that are Cape Verdean, and because it's not something that they should be doing. We all have a piece of this pie,
mhm,
and to get the independence of Cape Verde, it had a lot to do with people in the world, and it had a lot to do with Americans doing their part here to get independence. So, anyways, I had to say that. I think it did.
yes, that's the biggest part of all of this is I had to really look at who I was because I was knocked off the horse when I was told that I'm not Cape Verdean because I don't speak the language. But that's all I knew. Like I grew up in the Bay Village with we did the village thing before it became a cliche, like it takes a village to raise. And all I knew was Cape Verdean people. And I
Hmm.
heard language every day. And the surprising thing is like I went out with the young girl's mother to and the aunt. The aunt became friendly. She just said that and it wasn't nice, but they welcomed me once, they got over that part and we went to a party that was up on a rooftop and every single song they played, I could sing the words, but I had no idea what they
Hmm.
like I knew so sabe, and I know a cabritinha na rua, but
Hmm.
I was so surprised, like, because my father played Creole music every Sunday,
Nice.
real to real. And, so it's like so much embedded in us. And I think that that's a part of, I learned the term heritage learner, you know.
Hmm.
Now, heritage learner is someone who has lost their language their original native tongue because of migration, assimilation, because like back in the 1800s again, you were shunned. You had to keep your jobs. You couldn't, say, okay, I'm speaking Creole, the heck with you, or whatever. And
Mhm.
can you imagine, like, I mean, I don't even know how they came across the ocean. I went to Fogo 3 hours and threw up for 3 hours. That sea was so bad. And we had big families. So they were trying to survive. They didn't think that Cape Verde would survive. And they didn't plan on going back. And in the school system, they told our parents not to teach us Creole so we can perfect English.
Mhm.
Still doing that today. There's migrant workers here, and the kids are so embarrassed. Like the teachers, I'm in the South, so they
Mhm.
say a lot of racist things. And I remember a little girl coming in, and I'm using broken Spanish to talk to her, and I'm like, "Teach me your language. Don't let anybody tell you." And these are little kindergartners and first graders. And that girl came back when she was a high school student. She said, that was the first day I was in this country, and you made me feel safe. And you spoke
Nice.
to me in Creole, I mean, in Spanish. I said, I didn't know what I was saying. I'm like thinking Cape Verdean words in Creole and
Yeah.
Spanish, like, Trabaja, Mama, come back,
Yep.
But it's like, all of that thought was like a salad coming up in my mind, like when I went to Cape Verde, because I'm like, okay, this is a white guy in the school, speaks fluent Creole. He's not Cape Verdean, you know.
Mhm.
So language is a part of our culture.
Yeah.
Mm, leaving in the stores, there was Chinese people speaking fluent Creole. Those
Yeah.
are all hitting me saying something's wrong with the picture. So when I
Mhm.
came back, I'm like, okay, you're a teacher, you're an instructional designer. I took the book, the one that was Gonzo's book, New Papere,
Mhm.
and I went online. I looked for resources, and there weren't a lot that were audio, no audio. So I didn't want to not learn how to speak the correct, language or diction. So I would pull everything I knew, and I'm like, okay, there's not a lot. I'm going to create it, and I created the Pina and Bean characters from stick figures. I met
Mhm.
this wonderful guy. He's Nigerian and lives in the UK, and he's the one who taught me how to do the app. But the book is designed with his template. He teaches African languages, and he was the first person that was like welcoming and saying, "Oh, I'm so proud you want to, you know, preserve the African languages. That's what I'm doing." And he's been with me for like the last 10 years
I
with
love it.
the app, and he's young and he has patience, like of a young person, but like,
Mhm.
hey, hold on, I'm 67 years old and learning how to build a game and Udemy, not Udemy, Unity, but he is more excited than I am. When like you said, you get tired. I don't have that tough skin, but I
Yep.
do have that basketball. Like, okay, you know, it made me like sure up who I am. You know,
Mhm.
he can tell me I'm not Cape Verdean, like people would say that I wouldn't say anything, and now I'm like, no, wait a minute, slow your roll. You know,
Mhm.
I am Cape Verdean because culture is more. Like the heritage learner is, like I said, it's someone who lost their language. When I was doing the book, it was so frustrating because I had um, my language teacher's in Brazil, and she's very book knowledge. So I had to do everything right. I had to go through the English, through the Creole, and then I had to send it to my audio team. I had to listen to all the audio, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. What made you think you could do this? But it was fun.
Do
On good days,
do
it was so much fun and so meaningful. And, it all came into fruition. And I learned a lot. And I use everybody's resources. I have, Cabo Verdeano, the YouTube channel. I got all of his books. I got every book I can see to, develop resources because you don't get it overnight.
Mhm.
And the reason I chose to do like Santiago and prior variation because it was the capital, you know. My grandparents are from Brava on both sides, you know, but I wanted a consistent way to learn to say Nkrea Kachup, and that was another thing. The
Mhm.
Manchupa. My translator was not gonna. She didn't want her name on the book because I put Manchup. And
Oh, wow.
bilingual, it says Nkrea Kachup on the top, and the
Yeah.
English says I want Manchup. And I said, I'm sorry, that's a personal thing. I said I mentioned New Bedford, I mentioned my sisters, my brother, now my
Mhm.
yeah, so it's my book. If you don't want to put your name on it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it made me stand up for my identity as a Cape Verdean. I'm in North Carolina, but I found 6 Cape Verdeans,
Mhm.
and one's at Cape Verdean American. The rest are from the island, and they're like, "Oh, I'll teach you." Like I tutor one of the Cape Verdean sons. She talks in English and Creole. So, I mean, wherever you can get it, you go and try to practice. And it's scary because you don't want to sound wrong, but it's you learn, just
Yeah.
like, and I did it like based on teaching reading to young kids, like this is red. This is a red ball. This is a black ball. This is whatever. This is the verb, want, cre, cre kachu, cre
Mhm.
l'orange, and to me, like it's like if I go now, I'll be able to order food and understand. I understand a lot more than I can speak. Like I have to write it down when I'm speaking, so I'm still learning. And my little hashtag is passe, pas passe, step by step. You know.
Mhm.
So
It's it's I love that. This is and as you reflect on things that you were going through. By the way, who was your teacher in Brazil? You
her
care to
name is
mention?
Suli Duat.
Oh, yeah, yep. She was on the podcast. Very, very
Yeah, and
great.
that's the thing. I met connections. Like um, when I went to Cape Verde for the first time, I went on LinkedIn to find people who were teaching, English in Cape Verde. And I was staying at a hostel and I heard kids singing the ABCs, like A B C D E F G.
Mhm.
And I said, wait a minute. I'm like throwing on clothes. And there was a school across the street. I went and the principals couldn't speak English. I'm like, I want to see the kids. I want to sing. And can I come in? And she's showing me. I went in the classroom and there was a guy outside. He said he spoke English and he said, "Oh, that's my wife." And he brought me in.
Mhm.
I walked in the door and she goes, "Oh my God, Doreen Pina." I'm like, "What?" And it was a woman I had asked about Creole because she was on LinkedIn. So, I mean, God hooks you up when you do,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
designed to do. God will hook you up. And I'm trying to get back to New Bedford because I want to, like do classes with kids,
Nice.
because I know like we're all getting older. So
Mhm.
like when my mom passed, that language was gone. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, you know what? I'll do the book because if I don't get to teach my kids and grandchildren, it's your
Yeah.
book,
Yeah, exactly.
it's your book. But the next
And
time I go, I'm gonna go like either next year or the year before, God willing. But
yeah, it's what happens is people learn at their own pace, and I so as long as you have that book available and on the shelf and available, eventually they're gonna gravitate to it and take it and learn for themselves and within their family. So,
yeah,
Sandra Gray says conversational Cape Verdean Kriolu book is amazing. I've learned to do so much reading the book. The only word I knew was Kalika.
that's
And
her. Don't say what she's saying. I know some.
no, yeah, and yeah, no, that's a bad word. But thank you, Doreen, and thank you for the book. I am gratioso. I believe that says I can't see it too well, but it's so I truly, I like those comments, and it's so common. Paul Paris grew up in a family where they were speaking. His family was speaking. It was very, very, and he was able to learn and learn his language. But the one thing I like about Paulo is that he continues to educate Cape Verdeans all over the world, whether it's learning, listening, learning, even debating and disputing. It's very He's a great ambassador when it comes to our culture and heritage, and I truly, truly like what he's doing. On YouTube, they ask a question: did your parents speak Creole at home?
Yes, I have 8 sisters and brothers, and the
Hmm.
first 5 all spoke Creole because my grandparents were still alive, and they
Hmm.
didn't understand any English. So my mother spoke and father spoke Creole every day to each other. But there was a 10-year gap. So when we were coming up, like my grandparents had passed and the older ones were out of the house. So then my parents started talking to each other about, things that, mind your business, confiad,
Hmm.
Creole, so we wouldn't understand. But they
Yeah.
didn't, you know, they you I think like my desire to learn now is more like a personal thing because there's not a use for it because you're not in a community that speaks Creole.
Yeah.
They needed to speak it. And my sisters and brothers, they lost it as the years went on. But I used to ask my father, I'm like, why was the goat on the roof, Capitatina Narua, right?
Hmm.
It's music. And he would say, be quiet and just listen to the music. So that's why I knew all the songs, but I didn't know what they meant.
I love it.
Paul, I've talked to Paul, and he was one of the few, I won't say few, but one of the many people I met that really gave me like the reinforcement that, don't let nobody talk and say
Yeah.
that you're not Creole because you don't speak the language. I taught, I mean, the guy from Joe, what's his name? Joe D'Amata. He
Yeah.
asked,
Yeah.
he asked me to teach Creole beginning courses. I'm like, I'm not fluent,
Hmm.
more than him, and I did. I taught with him a couple of times, and it was fun. I always tell people like I'm learning. Like I know maybe a little bit more, and there were people that have come to the United States who don't have their family around, who have lost their language, or they don't speak it enough. When they go back to Cape Verde, they're made fun of, and they were in my class. I'm like, maybe you should be teaching the class.
Yeah.
Like, the teacher and me made PowerPoints. I gave them assignments. I'm like, okay, you repeat it now. You do
Hmm.
this. And it's fun. And it's beautiful to see people wanting to learn the language. It's like as a teacher, as a Cape Verdean, and just like to see how far I've come, you know.
Yeah. It's my father, before he passed, we did a T-shirt. We had with the Cape Verde Islands on it, and in the back it said the glorious part of living is learning, and it was talking about learning the language, the culture, and until this day, I always said that I would recreate that and and do it, but the business that had the JPEG, or they actually the screen, they're no longer in business, so I'm gonna have to recreate it again. I only have a picture of the T-shirt, so I gotta figure that out, which is easy enough. So, but
Hmm.
I like to bring that back because it's a different type T-shirt, just giving a message on the back, to live and learn and learn your heritage. Dorina Pina says that's my mom on YouTube. She says, "Go, mama, go," and good friend Doreen Amaro is watching, and
Yeah. Hi, Doreen from New Bedford, Sandra from
yeah, Sandra says grateful. Yeah,
Ohio.
it's so you would definitely, it's. it's not a few people that you impressed or inspiring. Is many, many, many people, and I could probably very easily say thousands of people that you have influenced by doing what you're doing. So um, keep on doing what you're doing because you're reaching the masses. Even though there may be good, bad, and ugly, from social media and people critiquing you or criticizing you, but that shouldn't get you off your path. It what you're doing is 100% godly, right? You're on this path to definitely do and inspire many, many people, and not only Cabo Verdeans.
Right, because I had in the class, like when I do the class there, it's on Zoom. So there's people like from California, from Florida, from Rhode Island, New Bedford, and it's like amazing because a lot of them have the same story.
Yes.
Want to learn the language, and they feel embarrassed. And like I had one girl, she came in from California, and she was rough. She's like, "I'm not going to say nothing, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Lord, give me strength." Right? She
Hmm.
was the best student, and she was like raising her hand and talking and trying and I'm like, "That's close, let's try it again." And she had a good time. We learn from making mistakes, and like when kids are saying words incorrectly, and you just repeat the same word until you
Hmm.
get it. So
Yeah, one word at a time.
yeah.
Even if it's a few words, it's the best thing to do. Enrolling in those classes, for me, um, was good. I was able to do it as like a family thing. Put the computer on the table, kitchen table, the big screen, and you get to kind of interact through Zoom and see some people from the same city that you're in or other cities, other parts of the country trying to learn. So
Mhm.
it's not uncommon to try to learn your language. It's a very common thing. There's many, many people trying to learn.
Right. And like I remember going to the church when we were doing the book because I was so frustrated. And I'm like, "I need the pastor, can he pray for me? I am just like overwhelmed and I need to meet this deadline." And the pastor wasn't there. And there was a woman that was Somalian. And I had the book in my hand and she said, "I'll pray with you." I'm like, "Okay." And then I showed her the book. She said, "Can you do this in Somalian? Because I don't know my language." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"I'm trying to do it in this language. Maybe I should have done it in English because it would have been a lot easier." But so that every time I get discouraged, there's somebody that will call, or like found like people that are Netherlands. There's a lot of people because once you sign up in the app, I send out newsletters, and people will contact me and say, "I found out that through DNA that I have a Cape Verdean, relative. So I want
Hmm.
your book," or "I downloaded the app," and that's you just so rewarding to see it going all
Yeah,
over the place. So
it's actually we got a scribing sister, my girl Jaffa. Oh my God, she said Lutina Cutelo Coutinho
and you,
Kriolu Katin Tajul, I believe it is, right?
yeah,
I'm sorry. There's one thing about describing sister is that she's always welcome me
yeah.
to come back to
I
come
want
back
to
to the
go
class.
on your trip with you because that is amazing what you're doing.
Yeah, she's
With
awesome.
your language to Cape Verde, that is amazing. That's wonderful.
Her family should actually receive so should receive community awards for what they're doing, especially when it comes to the Cape Verdean community. And be the first of the first to create, the Cape Verdean dictionary. Two
Mhm.
different versions is just amazing. And I always say it since I know I have one of the versions. The second version I don't have, but it's so important. and I think that it's something that should be acknowledged as a humanitarian award for uh for their family, especially Mr. Gonzalez. Um, Paulo says some folks are going to live in Cabo Verde in order to learn and speak Creole. Yes. Scribe and Sister says can't wait.
That's
And
gonna be amazing.
he says CV, CV, CV. Yes. Um, Amazing. She's was on my podcast and I had a great time with her. Um, so if you're going with her, Doreen, you're gonna have a special kind
I want to. I just gotta win the lottery. So
of.
that is worth the expense. I have a wedding coming up and some other things to get out the way, but I'm gonna try.
Yeah, why not? Why not? So all right, we have to let me put the app, you guys go ahead and you have an Apple Android device, add conversational uh Kriolu in your on your devices. Do it now, join. So,
You,
Doreen.
it's in Google and Google Play as well. And
Yes.
you can download like last year on the 50th anniversary, we finished the first story, and that's still for free. So if you
Mhm.
download it, it's lesson 3, it's introductions, and you can get that for free.
All right. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. The you said you spoke to Joseph Demora for the Cape Verdean Museum. There's one thing about that museum that I truly was I expected something, but on a smaller scale, right? When I
Mhm,
went into the museum in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, this place is fabulous. And I was so happy, right?
mhm.
So happy to be there. It meant so much to me.
And he's another
And
one that will call people out. He was in the Capers of America the day the guy was saying that man doesn't is talking is teaching an inferior language, and he stood up, and Edma from um, Creolish,
yep,
they both stood up, and that like it's good to see the younger generation saying like, no, we're not going to do this. That's we need to bridge it, not break it,
yep,
because
exactly.
understand, each culture and the struggles to get us to where we were to survive. And now, it's not laziness that stopped us from learning the languages, because our parents had to work hard. They worked hard and survived that ocean. I keep thinking about the ocean, but and then later to produce. I mean, I have nephews that are like Air Force pilots and nurses and doctors and lawyers that came here and were able to do what they did because of, our parents before us.
Exactly. So everyone, that's the image of the beautiful illustration of and you could add it to your devices. You just go to Google Play and actually install it. It's very easy. Um and just add it. Nappy Red June is saying peace. Listen, I definitely gotta get you on the podcast. I said I would. I got to work on it. But what's going to happen with the Really Charlie podcast is this month I'm going to really be digging down deep and actually getting some podcasts on every week. But the month of June, I decided that I'm going to take off. I'm gonna just I have another podcast that I'll constantly do because I'm a co-host. But the Really Charlie podcast, I'm going to take the whole month off and then begin again in June, July rather. So even 12th Street Talkback, she's another great person that I have to get on the podcast, and so we can do our thing. But I see, I love the networking. You
Yeah.
know how broad and when you look at everybody in the comment section, and on social media, listen from silently listening, or silently, they're not visible, but they're listening, and it goes all over the place. I mean, you talked about your teacher in Brazil. She was
Mhm.
on this podcast, so I touched different continents already.
And we did all that during the pandemic. It was like
Yeah,
it kept us.
exactly.
But this, I
Yeah,
don't know if you can see it. This is what it looks like,
yeah,
the app. And this lesson here, introductions, is free. So you can download that. And it has a lesson, and then it has like a quiz after you finish the lesson to make it more interactive and to help you to learn. So, and it's,
nice,
you know, the words come in and it's in Creole and English.
very nice, very easy. See,
Yeah, it's
uh,
really user friendly. It's not hard.
we gotta love Anna. Anna's on it. She is amazing person in my life. I truly see you have young people already loving what you're doing, and she's one of the special young people of this community, and I'm glad that you're on,
Yeah.
and I'm glad she's on. Great, great, made my
I
day.
like animation. And my brother, who just passed, Larry, I
Yeah.
brought his book and I went to his house. I'm like, "Are you learning Creole?" He goes, "I'm not going to learn Creole. I'm too old." And then he's like, I gave it to my granddaughter. I'm like, "Good, she'll learn Creole." And he said, "No, he thought it was a coloring book. So he had her color all in it." I was so mad because I told his ex-wife, Viola, to go get it. And she's like, "Yeah, what would she be? His daughter would be my niece. But your niece colored in the book." And I'm like, "Oh my God, Larry."
Hmm.
Hey, Larry, love you.
Yeah, we love and miss them already.
No, yeah.
Um, Anna, I do love you too. I love you too, so dearly. Much love. The Yeah, Larry was a huge part of my life. There was one thing your brother did is he kept people laughing, and he would always keep everybody laughing. And the one thing I like about it, excuse me, I gotta plug my laptop in before we lose each other.
Okay.
And the one thing I like is that there was many people to pay some respect for him when he passed, and so may he rest in peace. And
Yeah.
so many people, life is not promised, man. It's not
And
promised.
you don't sometimes know the lives you touch, when you're given to children, because he loved children. And
Hmm.
he was like a ref when my sisters and I played basketball. I have a sister a year older. She was a guard, and a sister a year younger, and she was a forward, and I was a center. And he used to make me foul, like technical, technical. I'm like, "I'll tell him Ma." We would be fighting on the court. It was crazy. Um, and he's like, "You don't play until you're mad." He used to make every time it was a rep, he would give me too technical for nothing.
Yeah, making you make you play better, and you know what? That's so true. And a lot of people that they play better when they're mad, and they need people to get them mad.
Yeah,
But
that into your butt like the parents did.
yeah. So
Yeah. I think Cape Verdean Americans have a unique experience, and like we always were proud to be Cape Verdean, and it's like a lot of times in any race you have prejudices, because I'm sure, like, when we were young, there were kids coming from the island, and a lot of people made fun of them because they had accent and stuff. So they had to go through their own thing to get,
so
through
true.
their move. And now we got to get made fun of because we don't know how we never even knew. Like when we went to the American embassy in Cape Verde, and our translators dropped us off. It was me and Mark Gomes. He was my neighbor. And we're standing there like little kids. We didn't know what to do. And they're like, "Are you American?" We're like, "No, we're Cape Verdean." They're like, "You can't come in here then," right? We're like,
Hmm.
"Okay." And we got back, and the pastor that we were staying with, he said, "Hey, Dawn, you're not American. I mean, you're not Cape Verdean. You're American." And I never
Mhm.
identified or said I was American until that. I never even thought about that. I was always Cape Verdean. I
Yep.
used to watch Doreen play basketball. She was
Summer league at Monty's.
I love rebounding and steal that ball.
Yeah. It's a
Yep,
great.
little
We got
snot back then.
a lot of history in our little neighborhood park that meant a lot, and
Yeah.
we're one of the very few uh, communities with a park like that we can actually, we're the only ones that have the wall, right?
Mhm.
Every other park has a fence, and or it's an open field. But I know there's one thing that when we talk about the wall, everyone knows what you're talking about, and that's Monty's Playground in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Um, DJ Victoria said, "Amen." I truly, yes, amen to all of this. Everyone being here, Doreen being on the podcast for the second time, and with as Doreen, as you go along and you keep on creating and being special person you are, just when you want to come on, just come on. Even if you are in Cape Verde, give me a hit, a
Yeah.
message, and
Hey, I'm
we
gonna
can
speak
connect.
to the universe.
Yeah.
Going back. I need to go to Brava. I never made it to Brava. There was volcanic activity. And it's so weird because all the pictures I took in Fogo of the winery and the hotel, and Mark was with me. We stopped at that sign where everybody takes
Yep.
pictures, right? And I felt something really cold. And I jumped in the car. He's like, "Oh, Doreen, you're afraid of heights." I said, "Didn't you feel that? There was something changed in the atmosphere." And 2 weeks after we left, they had a volcanic eruption, and
Hmm.
all of that was gone. And I'm so glad I took pictures of the hotel because it was made of the volcanic ashes. And my daughter's an architect, so I wanted to show it to her. And when she went back, I don't think it was there.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing, especially a lot of the islands all across the world where volcanoes on them that they change. Um, and it could be as soon as a year's time, or even 5 years time. You could miss something that someone else seen not too long ago, and but as long as the island is growing, that's good. As long as it's not killing and hurting our people, keep erupting, but just don't devastate our people, and it's uh it's a shame, but all over the world there's devastation and death.
Yeah.
So that's the one scary thing about the volcano.
Yeah.
Um, all right. What I want to do is just give you a moment to. We got 10 minutes, so I want you to close with anything you possibly want, story, anything. Um, and but I have to ask you this question, so this is included. Who would you like to see on the Really Charlie podcast?
Who would I like to see on the Really Joe? I know Paul probably was already on it. No.
Let me see. I think Paul and I talked on different other things, but to put him on here and let him be the star he is, I haven't done that, and I think we should because Paul has gotten so many guests on this podcast, and including your teacher, right? He's the reason why she came on this podcast, and
Okay.
so there's
Oh, you knew her
uh,
too. Um,
uh,
know
the
who else?
5 star.
Joe D'Amata
Yep,
and
he was on. He was on. And
Ed
I gladly put him on again.
Edma. He just
Elder.
released his online
Hmm.
course. I bought that, and it's like a self-taught, a standalone course in Creole. I told you I
Hmm.
buy all the stuff, and I keep saying, and you gotta, when you do a language like any, I mean, I took 4 or 5 years of Portuguese and French and stuff. I don't remember nothing from that. You know,
Hmm.
you have to stay in it, and I'm thankful that I have met a Cape Verdean girl, and she's from Fogo here, and she makes manchu. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what you want for your birthday? I want manchu,
Yeah.
But she's teaching her. She has a 2-year-old and a 11-year-old, and they speak Creole. So I miss them because they moved, further away from me. But that's the bridging, that's the bridging because she was like, oh, she would start talking to me in Creole because she would forget I don't speak it. I don't
Yeah.
understand it. I would start understanding. And I would be happy. I'm like, oh, the twatch, I'll give you the twatch. Here it is, So, close the door. I'm like, oh, Porta, that's a door. That's a door. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I just envy people that grew up with it. They don't know what a gift they have. So share the gift, and the people that don't, just start one step at a time. Um, you're more than welcome to,
Yeah.
join my classes when I have them. And, like I said, I get thrown off my horse, but I love it. And we would spend, like, it's usually supposed to be an hour. We would be in there for 3 hours, like if people wanted to stay. And there are people that are Cape Verdean that just want to meet other Creoles. There was a woman from California, and she's a professor. She brought her students to Cape Verde for the summer. Her university paid for these students. And she said that, I said, can I be the chaperone next time you go? And
Yep.
yeah, she said, and we had a real successful um, trip. She said, but the students happened to all be white, and she said they were saying racist things, you know, and
Mhm.
she had to school them, and there was a lot of work. She said, but because it was successful, she can pick people to go. But I'm
Yeah.
like, we need to take Cape Verdean kids to the island, you know,
Yes.
and let them be immersed into the culture because there's so much. I mean, I wish that I could trace back to Brava. Like, I see people and I'll take screenshots. I'm like, they look like me. They're from Brava. They have the same names. But like when we went, most of the records were in Portuguese, and the
Mhm.
people kept asking me for money. I'm like, I'm a teacher. I don't have that,
Yeah.
But I think that there has, I know Joe wants to do more about DNA and trying to trace back because that would be wonderful, to just
Yeah.
connect.
I've been connecting with a lot of people that's part of my ancestry, and I use ancestry.com.
Mhm.
And it's tying a lot of people from different parts of the world um into my family, which is great, and uh oh, Shane Pina, I love you. May Baby Gene rest in peace, man. We're gonna miss him. Your dad was a fabulous person, and he definitely touched the hearts of many, many people here in New Bedford. So, Shane, I'm gonna miss your dad, man. And if you need me, don't hesitate. Um, but Doreen, we have to keep on with this heritage, and please, this podcast is yours. And anytime you want to come on here, just send me a direct message, and we'll
And I
make
would
sure.
just encourage people, like to just download the free introductions because it teaches you, it's like Moribusta,
Hmm.
Adretu, Ibo, all this, basic stuff is free, and you can see like the quality of the work. We put a lot of work into it. Like I have
Yeah,
a good team. I mean, I'm amazed that it came together, but I happened to be let go before the pandemic, and it was my project, and it became my baby and my love. So that's a gift. That was a gift for the 50th um, independence. So it's still
hmm,
available, and it's
yeah,
not. It's not a lot. You could buy like individual stories for $2.99, or the 14 stories is $19.99. It's not really expensive.
yeah. It's it's all that you put in, right? It could be $5, it could be $20, but all in all, for Cape Verdean people to have an app along with a book in front of them is
Right.
priceless.
And
Priceless to some
they
people.
Or and purchase the other books. I don't have them on hand. I purchased Joseph's book. I purchased these books from Capo Verdeano, and
Hmm.
I mean it's just everywhere you can get it. Anytime learn the word, get flashcards, put them on the doors, and all of that. But
Yeah. DJ Victoria, yes, blessings to you also. Gives us blessings to
yeah,
Charlie and Doreen, and we'll catch you soon. Yes, please. Let's keep in touch. As we say every time you're on here, truly, truly magical person, and definitely got to listen to your show this weekend. All right. Take care.
thank you for
Um,
having me and for what you're doing. I can't wait to get back to New Bedford because we need to do for the kids what our brothers and sisters did, like take us to the beach every day.
hmm.
Build that
Yeah.
community up and add in our language. That would be cool.
Yeah. And if you just remember Spinner Publications in New Bedford. So when you have different projects, book projects, talk to the people there. Maybe we're able to help you with a lot of things, including publishing your book and doing it through Spinner Publications.
Okay,
So
definitely check them
yeah.
out.
So Shane says he wants to do a podcast about his dad. Yeah, I'd like to sit down and talk with you about that, Shane. All right. We'll do it soon, but the month of June I won't be doing any podcasts. So
No, it would
sometime
be a good idea, like the Bay Village crew, bring them in, like like
I do.
that.
I have the page, right? And I keep putting a post up and say, look, I like to interview people about the Bay Village experience, Bay Village kids, Bay Village parents, and let's talk about it and produce a recording, right? And a
Right.
video account of our neighborhood and all the different things we did. But
And all
too
the
many
different
people.
families, like the Pinas, the Parises, and the
Hmm.
the Swords, all of the different families. Because that's one thing. Like with my girls, I brought them home every 4th of July, and we would go to the park. And they were like when they were little, and when we walked down the street, people would be beeping the horn, and they always knew me as Larry's sister, Henry's sister. They never
Hmm.
name, but my
Yeah.
daughters are like, "Are you the mayor?" I'm like, "Yep, I am the mayor." you
Yeah.
know, or we would go down that park, and they would get so mad because we would stop every 2 seconds. But now
Yeah.
they do that because they've been going so long. They know people and families. So
Yeah.
that's unique. And growing up in New Bedford, people can say whatever they want about New Bedford, but we had a good community and upbringing. There was nothing like swimming to the raft as a as a rite of passage as
Hmm.
a teenager, and just everybody looking out for each other. I miss
Exactly.
these.
It's so important that we restore and capture moments, especially on video of different people explaining stories from the community, from our heritage, and so it could be easily, viewed by other people that are coming up in the future, and I'm glad that we produced two accounts of you in your book, and that way your family can go on YouTube, go on Facebook, go on LinkedIn. Just put your name in a search, and one of the many videos that you have, this one pops up. It really means a lot.
Mhm.
Um, Sandra Grace says, "Good watching this. Doreen, we'll talk soon. Love you.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's do.
Yeah, thanks for supporting the podcast. Thanks for supporting your friend. I really truly appreciate this. Um, so, all right, Doreen, I got a few things to do, but you know what? Although this is the second podcast with you, it's definitely not the last because I invite you to this studio anytime you want because
Mhm.
I truly I'm proud of you, and I have no problem showcasing you all the time, no matter what it is.
All righty, thanks. I appreciate it. And as usual, good talking to you and seeing some of those familiar faces or names.
Mhm.
That's
I'll
cool.
I'll create some clips, and then I'm gonna end up putting it on your page so you'll have them.
Awesome.
Um, that way you can use it on your social media. But the podcast will always be up on YouTube if you need it on Facebook. All
All
right.
right. Yep. Have a good night.
You will do also, and good
Thank you
night. God
so much,
bless you.
Guest-Doreen.
All right.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, everyone. Hey, second time around was a good thing. I'm glad Doreen was here. She has her book, and you definitely got to get out there and get it. God bless you, Shane. I see it. Um, Here is someone that's trying to preserve the history of Cabo Verde and through the language of Creole. And what I always recommend to people is that there's many ways you can learn your language, and now you can just go online and Google it. You can go on YouTube. There's teachers on there, and there's Doreen, in her book. Um, you only could do this when you're ready, right? When you're ready to learn, then you find the material you need, and then you learn. People go at their own pace. One thing about a book, if you have it, it's always there on the shelf for you to use it. When you have the app on your phone, it's accessible to you to kind of click on it and learn those basics. So as you're traveling along in the community, you can say a few words here or there. You know, you can say that I only speak just a little bit, but I want to say bon dia. I want to say bon noite. I want to say everything possible in the language. But you learn through conversation. And the one thing that someone that knows the language and then you say something, they truly want to. What they want to do is teach you some more. They even may want to teach you the right way of saying it. Through practice. And then now you find out that you have somebody in your community that is willing to teach you one word after another. So thank you, everyone. I am blessed to have this podcast. I am blessed to be around people like you on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. The Really Charlie podcast is going to stay, and I try to be here every single week for you. Um, I'm also part of two other podcasts, Chopping It Up at Honeydew, which is every Wednesday at 10 a.m. at Honeydew, Route 18 in New Bedford, Massachusetts, with myself, Walter Moniz, and The Voice, Chops Turner, where he gets to sing music in the morning. Um, and he's multi talented, and he sings all kinds of genres. So he does that every Wednesday with us at Chopping It Up at Honeydew. And Wednesday night, I have Sometimes You Have to Lose Yourself, where we talk about love and grief. Everyone goes through grief. Everyone's going to experience it, whether you experience it today and or maybe not for years to come. There's all kinds of forms of grief. It could be the loss of a loved one, loss of a friend, you know, but grief is also loss of a job, um, the stress of bills. That's all grief. Grief comes in different categories. Um, so my co-host is Marvin Speller. He wrote the book Unpacking Grief, Shattered to Onward, and we'll be on tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about his book, his audio book, and also talk about health and gut health and many different things that you can put in your system. Everyone's tried a lot of things. You may be skeptical about some of the things that people suggest to you. But I'm going to tell you, I am the most healthiest version of myself in a long time, thanks to some of the things that I'm taking. So if you want to listen some more about it, join us tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Pacific. And we will definitely be here on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. God bless everybody that's joined us. I truly appreciate it. You all coming on, it's real special. And I take time to come on, but you take the most valuable time because you could be doing something else. And you're here on the Really Charlie podcast. joining us, joining me, my guest, and many, many more to come, God willing. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And I will see you guys tomorrow night and tomorrow morning also. So take care.